In the last two videos, we explored 2 days here in Quebec City, from the lower town to the upper town, within and outside the walls of St. Louis and St. John Gates. Fantastic food, impressive history, what a city. Right now, we are at the end of day 3, and you're probably like, the end? Well, aren't you going to show us what you saw? Well, of course, I managed to convince our tour guide to hang out with me so we can recap everything we did today. This is day 3 of my very awesome Quebec City 3-day itinerary. Hey guys, so I am with Elise and she's with the Quebec City Tourism Board. I'm so grateful that she decided to come and take us out for a day trip. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Pleasure.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm excellent.
Welcome to Quebec City.
Thank you so much. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the Basilica, Sainte-Anne's Basilica. It's an absolutely beautiful place. So I just wanted to get some information about it, like the
Sainte-Anne
history.
Basilica is one of the 2 big churches we have here in the area. People come from all over the world to visit, to pray. And there's a peak moment of this tradition is July the 26th. July the 26th being the patron saint of Sainte-Anne. Sainte-Anne, we say Sainte-Anne de Beaupré. Beaupré being the name of the village, Sainte-Anne being the saint in honor of which the basilica was built. Sainte-Anne being the grandmother of our Lord Jesus, the mother of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So that kind
awesome.
of settles in all the meaning, the significance of Sainte-Anne de Beaupré. The story was that some sailors who were coming to Quebec, they didn't know they were coming to Quebec at that point, but they were coming up the St. Lawrence from the old country. And at one point they were in a terrible storm, and they had promised that if they were washed ashore safely, they would build a chapel in honor of Sainte-Anne.
Right.
Sainte-Anne, to whom the sailors, French sailors, had a great vocation. And they did just that. So they built a very first chapel, of course, which is no longer there today. Only a little plaque can tell you where the chapel was. Actually, it was actually right in front of where the actual basilica is now.
Oh, okay.
And that was eventually washed away, was made of wood with ice. 1676, they built the second church, what I call the second church on the other side, was built on the premises of the one that you have now. And in 1922, disaster, fire, burned the place right to the ground.
Wow.
And what you see now is the basilica that they built in 1923. It's an immense basilica. The spires tower 300 feet from the ground. Beautiful copper doors, all done by Mr. Albert Gilles. Mr. Albert Gilles, who is his daughters and his wife and his niece still operate his copper shop today, not very far from the basilica. Mr. Gilles came from France, and he did an awful lot of beautiful church work, including the doors of Sainte-Anne de Beaupré.
Wow.
So the basilica today has a very large vocation of, it always kept its reputation of a pilgrimage center, and certain miracles happen at Sainte-Anne that we say. So,
Yeah.
and when you walk into the church, you have a lot of testimony to that, because you see a lot of medical devices
Yeah,
and people
yeah.
who, it's
Well, it's
touching.
interesting, yeah.
I was out there once happened to be out there once on July the 26th, years ago, and it's very touching to see the people who come there.
Yeah, wow.
I know, I mean, it's not a question of do you believe it or don't you? I guess faith can move mountains, we say. So
Fair enough, yeah.
people come there, and there's the mass of the sick, and so everybody's invited there, and all the priests in the area, and it's quite touching.
What's up, guys? So we've made it to Sainte-Anne Beaupré. It's a beautiful basilica just outside of Quebec City. It's absolutely stunning. I really want to show you guys how it looks inside. It's fantastic. Come, let's go. It's an absolutely beautiful cathedral here in Quebec City. I'm glad that you guys are here with me. Oh my gosh, this place is so gorgeous. I'm gonna show you around a little bit, but it's fantastic.
This is not a cathedral.
Okay,
This cannot be called a cathedral.
so it has to be a basilica.
There's no bishop here. The cathedral has to be a bishop.
Oh my gosh, like I'm learning so much from you right now. Like I had no idea. Like I was always thinking to myself, why is it a cathedral basilica? Isn't it not all the same thing?
It's a big difference.
Now, getting to the Basilica, we passed through some houses that were like really, really old houses, and you said that those are some of the oldest houses in Quebec. So tell us a little bit about
Well,
that.
you see, I mean, of course, you have two ways. The fast way is you go straight down the boulevard, which is rather the boring way to go. And it's kind of a shame to go down that way if you don't go by Chemin Royal.
Right.
Chemin Royal, which we also call La Route de la Nouvelle-France, the road of New France.
Right.
And Chemin Royal is, we can call it the cradle of agriculture of Quebec.
Nice.
L'Île d'Orléans, right across in the St. Lawrence River, and the Beaupré coast is what we call the cradle of agriculture of Quebec, because as you can see around, it's among the oldest colonial agricultural settlements in the new country. And the Chemin Royal is the old road that still links today Quebec City to Montreal.
Just quickly, how long is that drive?
Oh boy, well, depending if you stop at every church in every village, you might have to sleep overnight. You could make it in a day if you did a long day. If you don't stop in every church, but there's all kinds of old homes.
I
and
could
everything.
imagine. It'll be fantastic.
It's, well, just like what you saw there. I mean, you see in all different villages along the way. But some of those very, very old homes, you saw an old home with the plaque on the door, which says 1650. That was the year that the land was seceded.
Tell me a little bit about what you were telling me before about the falls, like the history behind. I mean, there was so much that I don't even know where to start. But
The Montmorency Falls.
Yes.
Which is, yeah.
You notice I'm avoiding trying to say that.
You haven't been saying the word, eh? I tried. It's not that I didn't try.
I know you taught me how to say it, but you know, so I'm like the falls.
Well, the falls. These falls are fantastic. They are. I told you, 1.5 higher than Niagara Falls. Of course, they're nowhere the same shape and form of Niagara. They're not the big horseshoe that Niagara has, but they are higher.
We've made it to Montmorency Falls. I'm probably like saying it wrong, but this is Montmorency Falls.
The closest you can say.
And this is absolutely a beautiful waterfalls. Now, there's two parts here. We're gonna go right to the front part where you can see the front of the falls, and then there's a suspension bridge that's kind of goes over the falls, and we're going to do that too. So check this out.
These waterfalls, well, I mean, today you have this beautiful park out there, but they were very, very linked to the economy of the area for several years. This was the Patterson Mill that was out there. That was the first vocation. After that came the electrical company. An electrical company set up at the foot of the falls, and they produced energy. Energy, as a matter of fact, they were able to produce energy to bring it right into the city to power some of the streetcars that were coming into the city.
From that falls.
And then after that came probably the longest, I would say the longest vocation of industry at the foot of those falls was a cotton mill, a Dominion Textile Company. Montmorency Falls is a provincial park.
Okay.
That is la CEPAC. When you see that somewhere, SEPAQ, and I won't teach you that word because it's la Société des établissements du plein air de Québec.
Merci.
Merci bien, hein? Repeat after me. So that is a provincial park. Excusez-moi. That's a provincial park.
Okay, so we headed back to the city in order to see a few more things. I usually leave museums off the list, but since we have a little bit of time, the Musée de la Civilisation in Quebec City takes a look at the many facets of human history as well as the establishment of French America. Burgers at the Chic Shack. I'm sorry, my vegan friends. Look away. Look away. The 19th century old port used to be bustling with commercial activity on the confluence of St. Charles and St. Lawrence rivers. And the last stop, also on the waterfront, is Marché de Vieux-Port. Yes, I'm working on my French. This is a public market where local artisans and farmers come to sell their wares or fresh produce. So, I mean, that pretty much was like a summary of our day. And I mean, I want to thank you so much because
my pleasure.
if you ever get her as a tour guide, you are so lucky. I mean, she's hilarious. She's fantastic. She's so much fun. I had like the best time. I mean, honestly, I'm so grateful.
It was a shared pleasure.
Thank you so
I had
much.
a lot of fun with you guys. It was really fun. I think we made a lighthearted, instructive, funny day of it.
Exactly.
And even if it was raining, we didn't care.
Who cares?
Who cares? We had fun.
No, it was genuine. It was the best time I've ever had in a long
thank
time,
you.
and it
It's
was
really-
like you made it really special, and I really appreciate that. It was fantastic.
You were a very nice person, and Morgana also, so I appreciated both of you. It was really nice.
Awesome, thanks. I mean, when we came here, the first thing when we were landing, I was like, why is there still snow outside? And we're in, this is like almost May. I was like,
This is still April, my friend.
My gosh.
No, April is like the end of it all, but we're at the end of one of the
fair enough.
hardest winters we've had, well, since 2008.
See, I'm from Toronto, so I'm a little bit spoiled when it comes to like cold weather because we start complaining right away.
I
but
know.
But it's way worse out here. So it's
Well,
like
Toronto is the warmest city in Canada. I was reading that not so long ago, and Halifax is the sunniest, so you don't have it all.
That's right. Fair enough. But people from here are like grow a pair. You Torontonians.
Here?
That's it for this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And in the comments, tell me what you like most about Quebec City. I'll catch you next time. Cheers.